Okay, last week we started already the topic about production possibility curve, and also it's known like production possibility frontier or limits. Why? Because you have a certain amount of resources, and with those resources you are able to use it in an efficient way. In an efficient way, you are allowed to produce a specific amount of products or services, because you only have that resource in order to produce that. You cannot produce more than that. So that's why they call it production possibility frontier or curve. Okay, frontier means that you cannot go further than that. Okay, now today we're going to talk about another term, another concept, that is when you can move this curve, you can move it to the left, or you can move it down. It means that if you move it down, it means that it's a recession, and if you move it upward, it means that it's a growth in the economy. The economy is growing. Okay, right now we are living a recession. Why? Because nobody's working, everybody's at home, and there's no people doesn't have doesn't have the money or resource to buy all the things that they need. So that's why they move from here to here right now. Okay, let me admit Gonzalez, Elias Gonzalez. Okay, now I'm going to play a video that talks on summarize this last concept that I'm trying, or I'm pretend to teach you today. Okay, I'm gonna play. Okay, remember you have already this document, and it's in the platform. In the platform you have all these documents. This is the PowerPoint that we are reviewing today. This is another information, extra information, and this one is the document that you need. It's over here. This is document that if I were you, I would print it. If I were you, I would print it. Yo imprimo este documento, okay? So it's the same information that I have in my PowerPoint. The difference that in the PowerPoint, I just try to summarize all the information. So that's up to you guys. You have all the information in order for you to complete this assignment. Let me play this video first. Okay. Hold on.
DC Econ. Right now, we're going to talk about how the production possibilities curve shifts. You must shift it. You must shift it. So it's important for you to get used to the idea of things shifting. In Econ, we explain concepts, and then we put those concepts to numbers, those numbers on a graph, and then usually we shift the graph. You're going to see it in micro and macroeconomics, and it all starts with the production possibilities curve. We've established that any point inside the curve is inefficient because we could produce more of each good, and any point on the curve is efficient. And we know that a point outside the curve is impossible or not attainable given our current resources. But what if we get more resources? That's right, the production possibilities curve can shift. You must shift it! Now there's two things that shift the production possibilities curve: a change in the quantity or quality of resources, or a change in technology. For example, in 1920, there's a certain number of cars and corn that we could produce. But now we can produce way more than we did before. That point right there that was once impossible is now possible. This is because we have new and better resources and because we have better technology. Now, there's one more option that can shift the curve, which is the idea of trade. Now, when countries specialize in trade, they can get other products at a lower opportunity cost than if they produce it themselves. That means the production possibilities curve would shift out in the amount that they can consume. It doesn't mean that they can produce more than they could before, but they can get more than before because of trade. Now you're gonna learn a whole lot more about this, and you're gonna learn about something called comparative advantage. Make sure to watch this video, it's gonna help you out. Now let's get back to shifting the production possibilities curve. I'm gonna give you 4 examples, and I want you to figure out what happens to the production possibilities curve for consumer goods and capital goods. Now, a quick reminder, consumer goods are made for direct consumption, like pizza. Capital goods are made for indirect consumption, so it's like an oven. So capital goods are tools and machinery to produce consumer goods. For each one of these scenarios, draw a separate production possibilities curve and show what happens in each one of the situations. Number one, what if we have faster computers and better technology? For number two, what if a country's power plants were destroyed and so it had a decreased amount of electricity they could produce? For number three, what if there was an increase in the number of people who are unemployed and there was a recession in the economy? And number four, what if there's an increase in education? Make sure to pause this video and I'll go over the answers. For number one, if we have new computers and better technology, the entire production possibilities curve will shift outward. We can produce more consumer goods and more capital goods. For number two, a destruction of power plants would mean we have less resources, in this case electricity, which is super important for an economy, and that would cause the production possibilities curve to shift inward. We produce less consumer goods and we can produce less capital goods. And that's exactly what happened to Japan when there was the earthquake and the tsunami. The combination right here, which was efficient, became impossible because the resources were destroyed. Now let's compare that to number three, when we have a recession and a bunch of unemployed workers. That would not be a shift in the curve, right? The curve does not shift inward because the workers are still alive. Now, if the workers died, that would mean we don't have a resource, the entire curve would shift inward. But the workers are alive, they're just not being used. That means it's a point inside the curve. Remember, a point in the curve is inefficient or it's unemployment of our resources. So workers who are unemployed is a point in the curve, not a shift in the curve. Okay, and for number four, the last one, an improvement in education would result in a shift outward of the curve. Remember, this is not more workers, it's better workers. The quality of workers increase. This is the idea of human capital. If our workers are better trained and more intelligent, that would cause us to be able to produce more stuff. To help you understand this concept, go ahead and watch the third episode of my series Econ Movies. I use the movie Monsters, Inc. to explain the production.
Okie dokie. I'm trying to play the other one, the other video. This machine is not working. Come on, come on, come on. Oh, here it is. Okay, now this is the other one that I wanted to share with you, and this, I think this is better, more didactic.
He's gonna go over what causes a PPF to shift. So you've seen the other movies on production possibility curves, you understand that. But what can cause them to shift? So I've gone through a brief list and I'm gonna show what happens. The first is a change in technology, economic growth or growth in the economy, natural disasters or any type of disaster really that will destroy capital in the economy or perhaps reduce the population, like a plague or war. And then investment versus consumer goods, how that can change a PPF. And so remember that when we draw our typical PPF, it's a snapshot in time. So we're holding everything else constant. But if in the next time period, say tomorrow or a year from now, technology were to get better and we can produce more stuff, then we'll see our PPF shift out. And so what goods we're producing doesn't really matter at this point because technology as a whole has gotten better, or there's been economic growth in the economy, so we can produce more. This shifts out. But what if we have a natural disaster like Hurricane Irene and some factories get destroyed? We'll actually see our PPF shift in because we can produce less goods. Also with war if they destroy some things. Now with the last one, we have investment goods or capital goods versus consumption goods. So if we choose to consume today a lot of consumption goods like jeans and food, then in the next time period, we're going to have a very small shift out, limited growth in the economy. That would be if we consume a lot. But if we decide to invest a lot, either in technology or factories, then we get a big shift out, and we see the PPF shifting out a lot more. And that's if we produce more stuff, then the whole has gotten better to more of this shifts out, like Hurricane Irene. We see our PPF shift in because we can produce less.
Okay, now over here. Now remember, there are two possibilities. There are two events or factor. This curve could move either forward, and the only way that this curve could move forward is when you add new technology or better workers, or you add more to that economy. It means that the economics is growing. The economy is growing, okay? Let's pretend over here. Here, okay, you have a pizza factory. You have a pizza factory and you are able to produce only 100 pizza per day, for instance, okay? This is as an example. Let's pretend you can produce only 100 pizza per day. Now, because of technology, you went to a market fair and then you found that there is a new technology that could make real faster and with an efficient way more pizza. Then you buy it and then you put it in your factory. And then because of that new factor in your factory, now you are able to produce 200. This is an example. So you go from 100 to 200. So that means that now you're able to produce 200. That's why you are moving from here curve to this curve, okay? Because of new technology, and also you brought new people who knows how to prepare a very nice pizza, and everybody's buying your new pizza. So that's the only way, okay? Now let's pretend you went to your machines, they broke down, and then you try to find somebody to fix it, and then you are losing customers. Then that means that you are not going to able to produce 100. Now you are able to produce, let's say, 75. So it means that you are going to move from this curve to this curve because of you have some convenience. Now another example could be a natural disaster, or if the country is in war. For right now, we are experiencing a natural, no, it's not a natural disaster, but we are living a very particular situation because of the coronavirus. Now, the economy is in recession. Right now, the economy is not good. So it's recession. So that means that this production possibility is going to move. Why? Because we are not getting enough resources to produce specific things. So this is as an example. So you are going to move this curve from here to here because of that factor, okay? The coronavirus, for example, okay? So that's basically what it talks in this video. Now let's go back to the presentation. Is this one? Okay. No, yes, it is. Yes, here. Let's continue with presentation and try to finish this. And pay attention, guys. Pay attention. Remember, next week you have your first test, and it's gonna be on Friday. Remember, so you have to review unit number 1, section 1, 2, and 3. And remember, all this PDF information, you have it already in your platform. I just show it to you, okay? It's in the platform. Now, let's continue. What we learned from PPC. One important concept revealed in PPC is efficiency. The condition in which economic resources are being used to produce the maximum amount of good or services. The maximum amount, when you produce the maximum amount of good or services, then you are using your resources in an efficient way. Now, if you don't use it in an efficient way, it's called underutilization or inefficient. Another is underutilization, the condition in which economic resources are not being used to their full potential. As a result, fewer goods and services are being produced than the economy is capable of making. Now over here, they talk about it, and the same example, remember we spoke already about the loaf of bread and the muffins. When over here, they're using other concept. They use guns, and guns represents the military expenses. Usually, a country they invest a lot of money in military expenses, and the conflict is you have to use it whether to buy new military things or use it in your economy. So border represent the consumer productions. Okay, now every points along this PPC shows a different combination. These are different combinations. This point over here, point over here, point over here, point, all of these are different combination, possible combination in order to produce either guns or butter, okay? different combination, military and consumer production. Regardless of the combination, each point represents efficiency. Any point in this line means efficiency. Now, the most that can be produced with the available resources. Now, any point under the curve represent underutilization or inefficient. Any point under this line, over here, over here, over here, over here. Now, number 3 is inefficient, like it says over here in this document. Any points along 1, 2, or 5 represent efficiency. Point number 3, this one. Point number 3, inside the curve represents underutilization. What is underutilization? That you're using efficiently all your resources. Some or all of the factors are not being used efficiently. And point number 4 is this one. You cannot move that to that part. Outside the curve represents a production impossibility. Regardless of how the available factors of production are used, this level of production is not possible to achieve, never, unless the economy is growing, or you add new technology, or you bring new workers who know how to produce these things. Now, so that's bring us to this section, changing production possibility or shift. Shift means change. Shift significa cambiar, okay? PPC illustrates a country present production possibility as if all resources are fixed. However, economy supply of resources is likely to change over time. When additional, pay attention to this, when additional resources become available, new production possibility beyond the original frontier becomes attainable. And the PPC moves upwards, se mueve hacia adelante. Solamente cuando hay recursos adicionales disponibles, entonces la producción se mueve hacia adelante. Entonces el límite se mueve. Si está aquí, ahora se mueve hacia adelante. Acá va a ser, ¿ok? No, aquí hay un ejemplo en los Estados Unidos en 1700, cuando comenzó Estados Unidos. Ellos comenzaron en this area, in the Atlantic coast. And they eventually, they moved to the Pacific coast. And also, and because of that, they got new natural resources. So that means that they can produce more. And also back in those days, there was the immigration. Why people from Europe was taking the boat in order to go to a new lands, a new destination, a new life, okay? Like in the picture that, what's the picture of that, oh my God, what's the name of that picture? That the transatlantic sank? The Titanic, like the Titanic. Everybody was taking a boat and going to the United States. Everybody, okay? Okay, now, also because of them, that brought huge numbers of workers to the labor pool. A new technology has made the use of land, labor, and capital more efficient. Now, the addition of new resources or more efficient use of resources already available means that United States could produce more goods and services. This is shown on the PPC as a shift on the curve upward or the right. In figure 1.6, this is the figure, okay? Now also you have that documented in your PDF. Economists refer this increase in the economy's total output as economic growth. You will learn more about this in chapter number 12. Okay, now this is what they explained over here. More resources or increased productivity, shift, cambia, the PPC hacia adelante, upward, or to the right. From PPC 1 is this purple, to the PPC 2, that is the green one. It means that is a growing in the economy growth. The opposite is a recession. If they move from here to back here, it's a recession. Now it's a growing economy. This means that the economy can produce more of both guns and butter. And point 4, which was a production impossibility in the picture 1.5 on page 20. Now it's located on the curve over here. Okay. Now basically that is today's class. We have 5 minutes left. Remember, you need to complete this vocabulary. Remember the title of this topic. This section is section number 3. It's gonna be part of the test. Remember, the test is unit number 1. Section 1, 2, and 3. Until here comes your test. Analyzing production possibility. That's the title. Write it in your notebook, and then you need to write the vocabulary. This is the vocabulary. This is the vocabulary. Write it down and look it up. Remember, the meaning of all this vocabulary is already in your PDF document that I loaded up already in your platform. Oh, by the way, over here are the meanings. Also in PowerPoint, you have all the answer for this vocabulary. And then at the end, I want you to do these assignments. These questions are very easy to answer, okay? So please do it. It's not on page 23, it's at the end of the document. So I want you to do number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in your notebook, guys. Do it in your notebook. Remember, you have already this document. This is a document, okay? You have that PDF, you have downloaded, or you have to print it. So over here at the end is the assessment. I want you to answer these questions, this question, this, and this, and this. Now, the other class, they had to do this activity, but I don't want you to do this, okay? Only answer this question. These are very, very, very easy questions to answer if you study this document. If you don't study this document, then you won't be able to answer those questions over here at the end in the assessment section. Remember, question 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Only this question answered in your notebook. Are we clear, guys? Now also, remember, you have this PowerPoint already in your platform, and this PowerPoint already in your platform that is over here, okay? You have all the information over here, the video. 2 videos over here. You have 2 videos that explain everything, guys, okay? So that's it for today's class. Do you have any question? Guys? Do you have any questions? Question? No? Okay, remember, next week you have the test. You have to review unit number 1, section 1, 2, and 3. Okay, these 3 sections. Just review it, guys. You don't have to memorize it. As long as you understand what consumer production goods needs, wants, you understand what it means, then you won't have any problem. Remember, the first section is gonna be 13 true and false questions, and the second section is gonna be 12 multiple choice questions. Okay, guys?